This video is brought to you by our patrons. If you want to make sure we can create more content like this, consider supporting us on our Patreon. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Chapter 8 of Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy by Joseph A. Schumpeter. We are going to chop this chapter up into a couple different videos, because I know none of you watch my 15-minute long videos. Or maybe one of you does. There's a very small line of viewership right there, and I see you. Okay, let's get started. This chapter is called Monopolistic Practices. So this chapter is split up into 6 points. So starting with number 1, restrictive practices are no match for the perennial gale of creative destruction, because ultimately the economy must grow. In this non-stagnant economy, restrictive practices can do much to steady the ship per se, or to ease the transition forward, and to eliminate temporary difficulties. And even further, restrictive practices can actually be a complement to entrepreneurship. For example, why would someone ever invest in long-term research or long-range investing without some kind of insurance or backup plan? Or cushion? Well, that cushioning is allowed by these quote-unquote big business practices. The investigating economist or government agent sees price policies that seem to him predatory and restrictions of output that seem to him synonymous with the loss of opportunities to produce. He does not see that restrictions of this type are, in the conditions of perennial gale, instance, often unavoidable instance, of a long-run process of expansion which they protect rather than impede.
Okay, this needs to stop.
The value of protective practices is most clear when observing the industries most severely affected by creative destruction. The concerns of those affected by the innovations is a clear window into what is going on in the economy. And only in the rarest cases does this pressure fail to increase the quantity or quality of total output. And also, old concerns and established industries, whether affected directly or not, are not immune to the perennial gale that is creative destruction. Sometimes, short-term storms or circumstances cause firms to collapse when they would have otherwise survived for many more years. Now, this isn't to suggest that it's a totally bad thing for old industries to go away, but we would prefer them to fade out quietly and elegantly rather than to collapse epically. And again, self-protecting strategies can help to ease this kind of transition, whether that's a transition into non-existence or the transition of an old firm to modernize and become more relevant again. So yeah, monopolistic practices are not 100% bad, but does this mean that Schumpeter likes them all the time? No. Our argument does not cover all cases of restrictive or regulating strategy, many of which no doubt have that injurious effect on the long-run development of output, which is uncritically attributed to all of them. And even in the cases our argument does cover, the net effect is a question of the circumstances and of the way in which and the degree to which industry regulates itself in each individual case. This is why our argument does not amount to a case against state regulation. It does show that there is no general case for indiscriminate trust busting or for the prosecution of everything that qualifies as a restraint of trade. And that is where we will stop for today. If you enjoyed it, please hit a like and subscribe, or consider joining our Patreon, and we will continue with Chapter 8 in the next video.